100 Club, there's an important debate in Washington right now that most people don't know anything about, and it could affect how good your internet service is at home and at work.
That's right. The question is, what's the best way for the web to operate so that everyone has the best internet possible? Jennifer Wishon has that story from Washington.
Each day, the internet becomes more integral to the way we live, learn, and do business. And the Federal Communications Commission has been trying for years to figure out how to ensure the internet serves everyone equally, with all traffic over the web getting equal treatment, so that no business or website is able to move faster over the net than any others. The idea is known as net neutrality.
Without net neutrality, there's a real risk that internet service providers could choose to give preferential treatment to certain companies, certain websites, or degrade access to others.
But in January, a federal appeals court threw out the FCC's net neutrality rules, essentially saying the FCC doesn't have authority to regulate high-speed or broadband internet service providers. But the court gave the commission some guidance on how to rewrite the rules without losing in court again. The commission plans to release those rules next week, and the chairman says everything is on the table.
It's really integral as these services, as internet becomes so essential in our lives. Now is really the time for them to act.
Derek Shawnee and other advocates for net neutrality want the FCC to reclassify the internet in federal law so that the internet would be considered a telephone, giving the FCC full authority to regulate it. Critics say that's regulation from more than a century ago that doesn't belong in today's modern technology.
It's a type of regulation that would have been very familiar to Grover Cleveland. What are we doing talking about it for the 21st century?
James Gattuso of the Heritage Foundation worked for the FCC in the early 90s. Instead of putting the internet in the same category as phone and water service, he argues the agency needs to stay out of it and let the free market determine the future.
The internet is dynamic, innovative, constantly changing, constantly coming up with new ideas. The FCC is none of that. The FCC is slow, it's bureaucratic, it doesn't come up with new ideas.
Gattuso compares it to the highway. Increasingly in congested areas, people are given the option to pay more to get where they're going more quickly in so-called fast lanes. He says it makes sense for faster internet service providers to be allowed to do the same thing. Cut deals with companies who want their traffic prioritized into a fast lane into your home.
Unless you believe that money is somehow an illegitimate way to allocate resources, this is totally unobjectionable. It sorts out consumers by need, and those that need something more or desire something more should be able to obtain it in the marketplace.
But advocates for net neutrality argue that if big companies like Netflix can purchase a faster lane into consumers' homes, then startup companies can't compete.
The next Facebook or the next Google wouldn't be able to get off the ground.
For advocates like Derek Shawnee, giving the FCC power to regulate these aspects of the internet will guarantee it remains open and equal. But critics like Gattuso warn such regulations will ultimately lead to worse internet service, not better. FCC commissioners vote on the newest proposal next week. Then the public will have the chance to weigh in. It will be months, though, possibly a year, before any new rules are adopted. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Well, this is one where we all need to be involved in this debate because it does impact the future of the internet, and in particular, the future of startup companies on the internet. It's been a great leveler in terms of technology where you don't need a lot of money, you don't need significant capital in order to have a market influence. And if these rules get passed where companies with money can buy a priority position on the internet, then it changes everything. So be involved, learn how you can lobby the FCC and lobby against these rules.